Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the week 3 matchups and a few captain options we could be looking at for the week ahead. So let's get into it, guys. We've got a few teams missing with some bye rounds after that awful thing we call opening round. But a few teams pretty interesting matching up this week. First up, it's Geelong versus Adelaide at the Cattery, and I've just heard that Jordan Dawson is not making the trip after a bit of calf tightness over the last quick break over the last week, so he's not going to make it to Geelong. So might leave the Cats midfielders hamming it up in the middle. Bailey Smith, Max Holmes, maybe even James Worpel getting a piece of it. Tanner Bruhn. So I'd like to think the midfielders at the Cats will be getting busy on Thursday night. But we'll see. Might be some interesting CBA midfielders for the Crows as well on the weekend. Josh Worrell's making the trip, I think, so that's good. But no Calamachi, because he's also out with hamstring injuries. There was lots of those last weekend. We'll see how teams are faring after a couple of rounds with these new rules. Could be a few, fast-paced injuries, as we've already seen. Collingwood Magpies should be interesting against GWS Giants. I think another team where, GWS just missing a few big names, and Collingwood, just up and coming with a few interesting ones. Obviously got Nick Dacos in the middle, Josh Dacos, Pendles and Sidebottom are still there. I'd like to see Ned Long getting a bit busier. Needs to get his tackle count up. But against the GWS Giants midfield as well, I think, they're missing a few. Kelly and Green, obviously. Cornelio did pretty well last week. Callahan was all right. Toby Green's been pretty good in the middles as well. So there is still a bit of experience in there. But interesting one. I think it's a good matchup, actually, for Friday night. GWS obviously have had their defenders popping off with Ash and Whitfield absolutely dominating. Ash in particular, it's up to like 119 average for the year. And I expect him to keep at it on the weekend. I think the Pies will probably get it done on the weekend, and it could be in the GWS Giants back half a bit. The Saints vs Lions on Saturday morning should be interesting. Lions have had a pretty iffy start, and so have the Saints, but they did do it a bit of an upset against the Giants last week. Some interesting names there for the Saints. Jack Sinclair, has been amazing so far. Expecting him to have a big one. You got Naz. You got, I think, McRae's out for a bit, unfortunately, but it hasn't been too relevant anyway. See how the Rucks line up. Was it Rowan Marshall and Tom DeConing against Darcy Fort and Sam Draper? So, two dual Ruck setups and pretty decent ones too. So, that should be an interesting contest. Hopefully, we can see Romar do something different than what he's done already. Fremantle versus Richmond should be one of the blowouts of the week, I reckon. I think Fremantle will just, at home against Richmond, should be coming out all guns blazing. Shai Bolton in the middle, which has been pretty exciting. Andy Brayshaw last week had a big one. Treacy, again, forwards against Richmond, could be pretty good. Could see him kicking another bag this week. Richmond-wise, you got Jaden Short, who will be kicking it in a lot all year, and you can see him doing it a lot on Saturday night as well, or Saturday midday. Richmond, interesting. I hope, I've been saying it all year, but hope Kane McAuliffe is all good to go. I think he needs to get in there instead of like Jacob Hopper and a few other guys just not pulling their weight for the Tigers. They need to, blood some more of these young guns when they can. Hopefully he's all good. Otherwise, for Richmond, Nankervis is out as well, so he's out for a while. So Fremantle, like Luke Jackson, should be having an absolute day out for Fremantle on the weekend. I don't know who the Richmond ruckman will be. Is it going to be like Ben Miller or Tom Lynch? No, Tom Lynch is out. So, one of their other guys there, Hayes Brown, was it? We'll see who gets in the middle for the Tigers over the weekend. That's going to be an absolute shellacking for Luke Jackson, though, I reckon. Very interesting Saturday night here. Not really a blockbuster, but Bombers versus North. Pretty interesting from a fantasy perspective. Both teams have been pretty dismal so far. North had that good win, but Bombers are the team to score against. And I think it's going to be an absolute day out for Tristan Cherry again. Had an absolute blinder last week and against Bombers with Blackiston as their main ruck, and just no kind of cohesion at the Bombers right now. So I feel like North Melbourne, Tristan Cherry in particular, going to dominate, and probably Harry Sheasel as always. But a good chance, yeah. I don't know, maybe some Bombers will get up as well. It's just an interesting matchup there. Two bottom teams. Kind of like last week, North versus West Coast. They made each other look good, to be honest. So we'll see how that one goes. A few Bombers might get up in the midfield, I think. Maybe Zach Merritt. I think he had an absolute blinder last time he versed the Kangaroos, 35 disposals or something. So he could be in for another big one. Yeah, some big scores in that game, I reckon. So maybe not for everyone, Bombers versus North fans, but fantasy coaches are pretty keen. Sunday morning, you've got Port versus West Coast. And I don't know, West Coast, do I dare say they were looking pretty good on the weekend? Was against North Melbourne, but you know, they do have a bunch of round one draft picks there, and they're actually blooding them, and they're actually doing pretty well so far. I thought Willem Dersma was good on the weekend. Harley Reid. Who's the other one there? Yeah, Cooper Duff-Tytler, straight in for the Eagles. So it's a bit of a different look. A few guys I wouldn't mind seeing in there, like Josh Lindsay or Marich again, maybe. Just a bit younger in the back line might be helpful for the Eagles. But yeah, I think Port Adelaide should have a day out there as well. So Butters, obvious man there for the power. But also some interesting ones last week that we saw. It was against Essendon, so... But I think a big waiver wire this week was Jack Watkins and even Joe Richards and stuff, who was getting on the wing. And I'd like to think sooner rather than later we're going to see Will Brodie in the lineup for Port Adelaide. And maybe even Ollie Wines this week as well as he comes back. But yeah, there's some interesting issues with him. So yeah, just like interesting with Rosie out. Who's going to be taking those numbers off him? Obviously Butters is there. And yeah, maybe Drew or something like that. But I'd like to think it's going to be someone else like, yeah, Watkins, a mature age, someone that has just come in that's going to pick it up a bit and get a bit more of that rosy bowl at Port, especially versus West Coast. Could be half the team popping off. Yeah, could be a big one for Port Adelaide. And finally, Carlton versus Melbourne Demons. I think that's another interesting matchup. Carlton just coming off the bye. But Melbourne, I feel like they're not as bad as everyone is saying. I mean, they don't have everything going, obviously, but I think Jack Steele in particular has been an absolute godsend for the Demons after losing Petrarca and Oliver, and he got back to some form last week. And I think against a Carlton midfield, he will be the main man at the Demons doing it. But also for the Demons, obviously Max Gawn against Pitternet should be an absolute belting, I'd imagine, there for Gorney. The other one I'd like to say to finish it off, get to him in the captains in a second, but Sam Walsh has been absolutely blistering it so far this year. And I think the last time Sam Walsh versed the Melbourne Demons, and this was when Petrarca and Oliver were around, but he got something like 140. It might have been 2 years ago, the last time he versed them, but he had an absolute shellacking day out. And I'd imagine, Carlton midfielders versus Melbourne midfielders probably have the numbers there. So Walsh, expecting him to have another big one this week. And then, Hawks, Swans, and Giants and the Bulldogs on the buys, unfortunately. So bit of a break for them, and we'll see how they go off the bye next week in round 4. So here we have a couple of my captain options for the week, guys. There's some 10 guys I reckon are going to have belters this week. I've already talked about a few. Tristan Cherry in the ruck against Essendon, absolute sure thing. Going to have an absolute monster day out against him. Harry Sheasel as well. I figure Essendon is the team to put your money on your players doing well against. They are going to get absolutely belted every week. And I think even North Melbourne, even though it might be a closer game, Tristan Cherry and Harry Sheasel will be absolutely obliterating the Essendon players. Zach Butters again, good matchup against West Coast this week. I think, especially with that Rosie injury, he is the man there. And I mean, he always was, but he's going to be taking as much ball as possible. We're getting very selfish And against West Coast, that just feels like it could be close to a 40 disposal game for him. Another one there, Nick Dacos, obviously, with the issues at the Giants in the midfield. I think Nick Dacos is just going to have a field day at home. Cameron kicking it down or hitting it down to Dacos plenty on the weekend. I think he'll have Briggs and Riccardi in the ruck and should get it done against those two. So Nick Dacos, I think, will be getting up there again, obviously. It's Nick Dacos. Probably 100 plus coming in. Max Gawn, as I mentioned before, has the matchup against Pitternet this week. And I think he's going to absolutely obliterate him. Could be close to 150, I think, against Pitternet because, that's a matchup you want if you're Max Gawn, I think. Lockie Ash has been fantastic this year. I think the Giants are probably going to get beaten by the Pies on the weekend, to be honest, at home. And I just think Ash will be at the big MCG, kicking around down back, and probably, taking a lot of kick-ins against the Pies over the weekend. Should be getting back up to his normal form. Jack Sinclair has been fantastic as well. I don't see him going down any further, even against the Lions. I think the Lions have been a bit iffy, to be honest. And Jack Sinclair has just been gut running it out of the defense. He's been taking a lot of kick-ins, good kick-to-handball ratio, and I think the last time he versed the Lions, he got close to 120 as well. So a new year for him. Feels like he's just a new player, even though he was always good, but he's just taken it up a notch. And he's the man for St Kilda now, I think. And it could be the man on the weekend. Zach Merritt, as I mentioned before, had a bloody good game last time he faced North Melbourne. I don't see why he's not going to do it again, to be honest. It's North Melbourne. They got a couple of good midfielders at North with LDU, but I don't think Zach Merritt's going to hold back. He needs a big one, I think, to stamp his fantasy relevance back in the game, and I think it could be this weekend. Zach Merritt could be going 120 plus this week. Jason Horn-Francis have put in there because of the Port the Port issue with Rosie. I think, he is number 2 there now, 100%, and against West Coast at home. And again, could just be an absolute day out for Port Adelaide. I think Horn-Francis will get close to what he did last week, close to 120 again. And finally, as I mentioned before, Carlton versus Melbourne should be an interesting one. And I think it's going to be a big day out for Sam Walsh. Last time he versed Melbourne, I'm pretty sure he got over the 140 or 130 mark. And that was with Petrarca and Oliver there. Now it's just Jack Steele and a bunch of patchwork midfielders, I want to say, in the middle for the Demons. Because, even Langford, Rivers, Cully, who's the other one? Xavier Lindsay. They're just not your A-grade midfielders yet. And the only one there is Jack Steele, in my opinion. So I feel like Carlton midfielders are going to have a bit of a day out against Melbourne. And Sam Walsh could be the man. Fingers crossed, touch wood. He's not going to break anything because, I'd love to see him have a big year. But Sam Walsh, I reckon lock him in for a 120 plus game this weekend. Thank you so much for watching, guys. That is my round 3 preview, all done and dusted. Couple of good matchups and, some interesting players that should be popping off this week. Let me know who you're excited for in the comments. Please follow me on social media. And hey, play some Game Day Squad, guys. It's a bit of fun, opening packs. Create your team, earn more packs, earn some money if you're good enough. Try out some Game Day Squad. Use the code word MONSTAR to get some free packs. And follow me. I'll be live over the weekend for some live watch-alongs, guys. Won't be there on Friday, but Thursday, Saturday, Sunday this week. Expect me to be live watching some footy. So please come and hang out. Follow below to know when I'm going live. And come hang out. Let's watch some footy together. Cheers, guys. I'll see you then.